Aloha.
Aloha. Aloha kaua.
Peri mai kako I ko mako podcast. Ke nohone maua I ka honua nani o laie I ke moku o Oahu I ke Kingdom of Hawaii.
Right.
Hawaiian's a little rusty there, but I'm very glad to be here with my brother Ulise, who, if you guys have forgotten, is both Kanaka Maoli, is native Hawaiian, and a beloved Tongan brother of mine. Grateful for the opportunity to be here. With that being said, I wish to pay respects to your ancestors, both Hawaiian and Tongan, for the blessings they have given us, and especially as we are here in Hawaii, using this beautiful land to perpetuate our work.
There you go.
I just want to pay respect to the people of this land for allowing us to be here. That being said, welcome to another episode of the Tongan Legends podcast.
All right.
We are going to be moving on. So we finished the last 4 or 5 episodes have all been creation story. Now we're going to be moving on to our auxiliary stories, the different stories of the interactions of the gods with each other, interactions of the gods with their children. And to start off those stories, we're going to go back to something that happened with Hikule'o. We mentioned it briefly in a previous podcast. And we're going to tell the story of a boat that went to Pulotu. Now, just as a reminder, Pulotu is, let me cover my mic real quick from this wind. Pulotu is the spiritual realm where Hikule'o resides, kind of the origin place of the gods. Ulise, would you like to share the story for us?
Sure.
We'll have Ulise tell our story, and then we'll move on from there.
Malo pito wakona again. Whakatapu atu ki ho'ei ki hono katoa whanua ka uma tangatai whanua whewhinei whanua o laie vai mo laie malo'o. Whakatapu atu ka ngā haua ma whakatau katea whakalolo e hau pe whoki ke ngai haa hono katoa. Ka ata ke u whai atu ai tō whohe pe ka iai halea e tō ki tua pehe ko whanga he talamalo e whanua. Malo lau maari e ho'ei ki. Aloha everybody. Here we are again, Tongan Legends podcast. Very happy to be here in beautiful Laie. We are here on the top slopes here in overlooking beautiful Laie. And again, grateful. Thank you, brother Wakona, for coming, visiting us here in Hawaii. It's good to have you. It's good to do a live interaction between us, not just over Zoom. So this is really awesome. So thank you. And same thing, I pay my respects to everyone here, the kupuna that are surrounding us right now here in beautiful Laie. And to those watching and listening, kalamai, katafa more if you hear some wind. We decided not to cramp ourselves indoors. We decided to come outside, enjoy the beautiful Hawaii weather, the scenery, the aina. So that's why you might hear some wind, some birds, maybe a chicken or two might show up, but we'll see. And please don't forget, also, like, subscribe, share our podcast, our YouTube channel. We need to get this knowledge out to everybody, all of our people, all of our kin. Wakona and I had a great experience the other night of just how far-reaching this information can be with some good friends of ours that we've made who listen to our podcast. That might come up later in some later episodes, but just malo to them. They know who they are. Thank you for that beautiful blessing and opportunity to be a part of their program. All right, so this next story, as Wakona introduces, is about the boat that went to Pulotu, also known as the story of Faimalie. This story can be found in Gifford's Tongan Myths and Tales, but he originally got it actually from a Catholic priest. It was written in some of the old Catholic, kind of like a newspaper they had in Tonga called the Fafangu. And they recorded this story was given to them by a man named Tonga Varevare. This is a story about the woman named Faimalie, and we wanted to share this because there's kind of a little things going around on social media now talking about women and kava drinking, women and kalapu, and we figured this is a good time to introduce the Tongan heroine, the goddess Faimalie, as well as reintroduce Hikule'o. Okay, so the story goes as such. It was said that there was a boat coming from the island of Ewa that was heading to Pulotu. And as such, it had to pass through the west side of Tonga. Pulotu is supposedly supposed to sit the northwestern area above Tonga. So as they're passing, there were 4 gods, as it says, 4 gods from Tonga that were on the boat. The first being Haveatoke, the next being Whakafumaka, Haerefeke, and the god Lohi, 4 men. As they're going past Ha'atafu, all the Ha'atafu peeps out there, as they're passing Ha'atafu, they see an old woman who has a flat nose, and she knows them. They apparently know each other, and she calls out, "Hey, where are you guys going?" She tells them, they tell her, "We're going to Pulotu." "Well, I want to come." "No, you can't come." "I want to come. Let me come with you folks." Well, they start talking story. "Well, what if we bring her? What's the point of bringing this old lady? She doesn't have to come with us." Well, da da da. They finally agree, "Okay, if you come, then okay, come." She said, "Yeah, I'll come. I'll ride on the outrigger. I'll bail the water, whatever. I just want to come." This is kind of typical Tongan thing. When somebody's going ever, they want to go too. So anyways, they bring Faimalie onto the boat, and they head off to Pulotu. They sail to Pulotu, and they land in Pulotu, and they come ashore, and they go to look for the house of Hikule'o, which I believe was called the Fare Foimata or Lupeolovalu, one of those. Hikule'o's not there. She's not there. She's out at the time. And all the other gods and goddesses of Pulotu are not there. Well, they decide, you know what? Let's wait for them to come. Let's hide. And they all hide. And they all have the ability to change their form in order to hide different places. Some of them turn into a little bug. Others hide under the ground. It says that Whakafumaka turns into a giant stone and just lies in the doorway. One of them hides in the rafters, the beams of the fale. So eventually all the gods come and they see that there's this boat on the sand. It's pulled up. Hey, this smells like it's a boat from the world, they call it, from Maama. So obviously from Tonga. Well, they say, well, let's go tell Hikule'o. They tell Hikule'o, she comes back. Well, yeah, find them, look for them. Long story short, in this first part, she gets all the different types of people in Pulotu to look for them. She gets what's called the Ha'amatakikila, the gazers, to look for them. She gets the Fahinga Teringaongo, the listeners. She gets the guessers, and she gets the another group. I'm sorry. There's a lot of different people to come and look for these gods, right? They call them. They must be gods from Maama. They can't find them. They're nowhere, but they keep hearing them laugh. They're laughing, and they're making fun of the gods in Pulotu. They're outsmarting them. Well, as they outsmarted them, they eventually give up, and Hikule'o says, "Show yourselves. Enough already. Feunga." And they do. They all come out and they introduce themselves. "Hello, go out, Haveatoke, Whakafumaka, Haerefeke, Lohi, and Faimalie or Faimalie." Okay, she says, "Well, all right then. You guys outsmarted us. You hid from us. Well, then let's have a kava. Go." And she ordered the gods, Hikule'o ordered the gods, "Go and get the biggest kava." And they said that this kava was so huge, they compared it to a country, a giant big kava plant. And they cut down, I think, 8 or something coconut trees to slide it on and to bring it forth.
It was 20 coconut trees.
Something like that. A lot of coconut trees, yeah? 20 coconut trees, and they put the kava on and they bring it to the gods. They bring them over to prepare the kava. And they said the big kumete, the big tanoa, was so big it was like the ocean. It was called this giant space. They palued it, they mashed it, they got the kava ready. And Hikule'o said, "Okay, drink, my guests, here you go." And she starts serving it out to each one. "But if you don't finish the kava, you will die. I will kill you all, destroy all of you."
Eh?
Right? That's what you get for trying to think you bad. Well, the other 4 gods were really afraid. They were scared. They were very afraid because they knew they couldn't do this. It was too much. There's no way they could drink this much kava. Hikule'o was known as a great kava drinker. And Faimalie looked at them. She said, "Why are you guys scared?" "Because we can't. We're going to die." "Okay, I'll tell you what. You all take your cup of kava. Drink whatever you can. I'll finish it." "Really? Okay." So they do. All of them, in order, takes their cup of kava, and it's too much. 1 cup, and they're too drunk. They can't have any more. They say, "Katak, we can't do it." Hikule'o's laughing. This is hilarious. Oh, she's going to kill them all. Well, Faimalie comes and tells, "Don't worry, I got this." Hikule'o says, "Kaya, kahokaho lau. Said, don't worry. So Faimalie comes up to the kava bowl and she starts in the very middle of the kava bowl and drinks all the kava. Drinks it all. But she doesn't end there. She then swallows the kumete. She eats up, gobbles up all the coconut trees it was on. She takes the penu, the kotai kava, eats all of the penu. She takes all the old branches from the kava that was planted, eats all of that, to the astonishment of all the gods of Pulotu.
I'll pause you real quick here. To any of those who have ever drank kava, okay, this kumete, they say it was like the size of ha'apai, right?
Yes, the size of ha'apai.
If you know what it's like to drink a lot of kava, this is like hands down the most impressive thing that has happened in Tongan history. Okay, just to put context there. You know, have you guys ever like had a whole carne like by yourself and you're like, ugh, okay, drink an ocean.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, go eat the kota'i kava, eat the you know, the dust.
The dust, what they squeezed out, right? The leftover
the actual
kava.
fibers. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Continue. No, awesome.
I just wanted people to know, like, this isn't just like some little like.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, she drank a lot of stuff. Like kava is hard to drink a lot of sometimes. Yeah.
But, so you know, this must have been a great kava as well. You know, it had to have been an important kava because it's the kava of the gods, right? So must have been strong. Anyways, so Hikule'o is astonished. Yeah, all the gods in Pulotu are astonished, and you know, and they said, "Okay, good job. Okay, that's awesome." You know, but they're also irritated. She said, "Okay, go." Hikule'o sends the gods, "Go prepare alo tawe ta umu," to make an umu. So they go and they put all sorts of things, ufi, talo, mei, and it says and buaka. And it says giant, huge umu with so much food stacked up to the sky. Okay, well, they sit down to eat, and Hikule'o does the same challenge, another challenge to them. Well, you guys are so bad, you're going to eat all of this, or I will destroy you all. Here we go, another same thing. Well, they're all scared again. The other four gods are scared, and we can't do it, da-da-da. Who do they turn to? But Faimalie. So she does. She says, okay, eat what you can, and I'll eat the rest. So they eat as much as they can. It doesn't even put a dent into what the amount of food that Hikule'o and the gods of Pulotu had prepared for them. So comes Faimalie, and she gobbles everything up, eats everything, even eats the leaves that were covering the umu, it says. Eats everything that was in the umu. Done. Here, Hikule'o and the gods are astonished again, and now they're really irritated. What the heck? So she issues another challenge. The gods circle around, no, we need to beat these guys. They're common gods. They're commoners. They're from Maama. They're from the world. We need to show them their place. So they decide, let's challenge them to sports. The first sport, they say, that they want to challenge these gods from Maama, these commoner, lowly gods, fa'anifo. Yeah? To those that don't know, fa'anifo is surfing. Yes. Surfing comes into this story. So Hikule'o and the gods of Pulotu challenge the gods from Maama to a surfing contest. Whoever can surf the best will win that competition. Well, Faimalie actually can't do this. She said, I actually can't swim. I can't swim out there. I can't surf. I don't know how. I won't be able to be out there in the ocean for some reason. Just one of you are going to have to do it. Well, finally, one of the gods can actually contribute to these competitions. And it's the first one, Havea Toke. Havea Toke, the translation is kind of like the slippery eel. And so he says, actually, I can surf really well. So Havea Toke grabs his papa and he challenges one of the gods. They bring the Pulotu gods send their champion surfer. And they do a surf competition. They come into the shore, they go back out, come in and out. And finally, Havea Toke, it looks like, wow, he's doing really well. And as he's coming in on the last swell, he jumps up, bites the back of the neck of the god from Pulotu, and kills him. And he stands victorious. Right? Oh, she fought, he's like, yeah. So it's a very interesting way he wins, and all the gods are just like, whoa, what the heck? Why'd you do that? But they knew Havea Toke was winning. And so there he stands, victorious. Havea Toke wins the surfing contest for the gods of Maama. Okay, well, of course, Hikule'o is not so pleased about this. Very irritated and says, next sport. We're going to do a sport of diving. Well, Faimalie still can't do that. She can't go in the water. And so she says, one of you guys are going to have to do this. No worries, I can do it, says Fakafu Maka. Whakafu maka means, in the style of a giant rock. So he says, I can do it. So there they go. Here comes the champion of Pulotu, champion diver of Pulotu, and Whakafu maka. And they dive. They come up, they dive as deep as they can, come up. Then it says they dive one more time. And Whakafu maka and the Pulotu champion stay underwater for 10 days. And then in the process of all of this, going over and over, up and down, and staying under for 10 days straight, it was already a month. The Maama gods were there in Pulotu for at least a month just for that one competition of diving. Yes. Well, on the final going up, it says that the Pulotu god could no longer take it. He was about to come back up. Well, Whakafu maka saw this. He said, no, you ain't leaving that easy. So he grabs him, holds him in his arms, and he drags him back down under the water and kills him. When he dies, it says he leaves him, lets him float back up and lets his body rot and stink in the ocean. And then he decides, I'm good now. Leaves the water, comes up victorious. And so that's how the gods of Maama win the next competition, the diving.
I'm just going to wait till his body rots.
Yeah. So, yes, it's a really interesting, I never heard stories like this. But that's not it. We're almost done. The last competition seems to be that Hikule'o said, fine, there's a giant V tree here in Pulotu. So giant, the fruits and the branches are hanging. It nearly covers all of Pulotu. Says, okay, what's going to happen now is I'm going to shake these trees. Whoever can catch all the V and not drop a single one of them and then eat it all, you're going to win. Okay, well, here comes the third god, Ha'elefeke. Ha'elefeke says, don't worry, I got this one. Okay? He lies under with his head on the roots and he stretches up his tentacles. Sorry, Ha'elefeke in Tongan means, Ha'ele is like the way to say coming and going of the royal chiefs and the king. Feke is an octopus. So Ha'elefeke is known to be a god, an octopus god. So he stretches up his long tentacles into the trees, the V tree, and picks every single fruit, and not a single one falls. He wins that. But he can't eat it all. We already know that they don't know how to eat a lot. So he asks Faimalie, can you eat all the V? Yep. She eats all the V, and they win that next competition, that next sporting event. All right. Well, we've come to the end of the story. Hikule'o. I'm sorry, in case I missed Lohi, is there anything else after this? Right. So they finish up. Hikule'o is irritated. The gods of Pulotu are angry. Here are these lowly commoner gods that have come to Pulotu and have beat us in these competitions. But they also have an aura of chiefliness, and they say, you know what, it's all right. We don't need to compete with their gods. They're commoner gods from Maama. They shouldn't even be here in the first place. Send them away. And so Hikule'o does. She orders them, you know what, all of you leave. Get out of here, go away. You don't even belong here in Pulotu. You don't deserve to be here. And so they do. But before they do, Lohi, those who know, the word Lohi in Tongan means to lie. And Faimalie does one final act before they leave. They actually, ala noia, or also they kaiha'a, they steal a couple of important items before they leave and bring it back to Maama or to Tonga. Lohi steals the talo and the fish oil. He steals these two and he hides them and he brings it back to Tonga. Now it says that Lohi comes from the island of Eua. And so that's where he brought the talo and planted the talo in Eua. And it is said from the story that all the talo in Tonga comes from Eua. And so that's where Lohi gets the talo and brings it to Eua. Well, Faimalie doesn't steal talo or fish. She steals one of the yams, the ufi. And she hides it and buries it under the fire while they're there in Pulotu. And then she does that as they're told to leave and they're chased out of Pulotu. She goes up and she digs up this ufi. And because it was under the fire, she says that one side was burnt, the other side was still raw. And so she swallows the ufi whole. She takes it all and she leaves. There, the boat returns back to Maama and they bring Faimalie back to where she comes from. And it says that after some time, Faimalie finally gives birth to this ufi. And it is called the kahokaho. She plants it in a place called Ha'amotuku. in Tonga. I believe it's on the Hihifo side, on the west side, I think. But that's where the ufi, the kahokaho was in Ha'amatuku. And it becomes the most chiefly ufi that we have here in Tonga today, the kahokaho. There are many different types of ufi in Tonga. The heketala coming from the Tangaloas and Aho'eitu in Popua and others coming from different stories. But the kahokaho ufi, the ufi kahokaho, comes from Faimalie, bringing it, stealing it from Pulotu, planting it at Ha'amatuku, not planting it, giving birth to it at Ha'amatuku, and we have it today. So that is the story of the boat that went to Pulotu, or the story of Faimalie and the gods of Maama.
Hello.
Yeah? Very interesting story of competitions, yeah, against the gods of Maama and Pulotu.
Malo for that beautiful explanation.
Malo.
Our story that we're talking about today, it's kind of cool. I mean, there's a lot to it. We have, this is the origin story of talo, where talo came from, and also the ufi kahokaho. Like, that's what the best kind.
It's the best kind. If anything, you want to do something especially for the palace, right? Kahokaho, fika uluakike, aviki palas. That's the number one you're gonna bring to the chiefs and to the palace. Ufi kahokaho.
Yeah. So that's the origin story. I think that this legend also, I love it. One of the things I love about all legends, mostly in all cultures, is there's a moral to it, right?
Yes.
And particularly in this legend, I like the beginning where these young men just they're kind of adventurers, but they're also tu'a. They're not like Oiki gods or anything. They're from Tonga. They're from Maama. They're going out. They're just going out to kind of go on an adventure, and they meet an old lady, and they're kind of like, "What value could you have? You're useless."
Yeah.
Like, but then it turns out that she ends up saving their butt, right? Because she's able to do things that they're not able to do.
Exactly.
But it's not a one-way relationship here, because it gets to a point where they're able to do things that she's not able to do.
Exactly.
And it is kind of this symbiotic relationship. Everybody has a value. Everybody has a work that they can do. Everybody accomplishes everything. Even Lohi, the little, I don't know. I always imagine Lohi as being like a little.
I have a picture of Loki. Some kind of guy like
shifty,
that.
Slimy. His name is Lai, and then he steals something. He's like, I steal stuff, whatever. He doesn't do any of the big competitions. He just kind of skirts around the edge. He's like, hey, look, guys, look what I got. But I mean, everybody in this story has a value that they bring to the group that they're traveling with. I think that's an important moral, and I can see why people were taught that. Just because someone's an old lady with a flat nose doesn't mean that they can't do anything. On the other hand, just because someone's a young man who's very, say, fit and athletic or whatever, doesn't mean he can do everything. Yeah. There's a balance in that, bringing different perspectives, different abilities, different experiences. Yeah. And I think that this lesson teaches that very well. Something for us all to learn from today. These legends continue to have relevance. Yeah. And it's something, this is one of those stories that will remind us, hey, even though that person might look some way, they have a value. There's probably something that they can do. Yep.
They have something to contribute to society, It's a really interesting story, man. Yeah, there's a lot you can learn. It's a funny story. It's one of the stories in Tonga that we see a lot of competition with different sports too, so I like that.
What do you think about the fact that Hikule'o, so, we kind of I mentioned earlier, a lot of, well, as far as I know, lady clubs, I don't know, the Lady Rams of Salt Lake.
Here we go.
I've never actually seen one or been to one, but I've known about there being women kalapu for Fight Kava. Yeah. But it's interesting in this story that the two best kava drinkers, Hikule'o is known to be one of the best, and she's a woman. Yeah. And then the other one who comes up and ends up beating Hikule'o is another woman. Yeah. Faimalie. So what do you think about that? Or what is...
Well, this is exactly why I really want to talk about this story, because, now because of social media, now those women kalapu are a lot bigger. Women drinking kava, it's more known now. But let's be honest, I remember women kalapu in Salt Lake been a minute now. There's been women drinking kava for a long time. It's nothing new. And a lot of the things that we see, especially in our culture, our more modern Tongan culture, those who belong to certain churches, women drinking kava is a no. No, women don't drink kava. They don't get drunk. That's not right. They don't sit and drink kava in a kalapu. No. If there's a woman in a kalapu, she's the toga. This is, this thinking is, what it shows like it's kind of wrong. Not only do we have this story of our ancestor Hikule'o as a great kava drinker, but also Faimalie, not just kava drinkers, but they were great kava drinkers. She drank the penu, man. She drank the kotai kava. And nobody do that, and so I think there's a lot to learn from this story, but it's not the only account we have. There's also accounts from Captain Cook, that when he came, it wasn't just the men drinking kava. The women would sit in their own circle and drink kava. They would have their own little sessions. Now, he was specific, and he kind of said that when it was the big ceremonies, probably talking about a taumafa kava or a ilo kava, they wouldn't join those, which makes sense. We understand that that's how it is today. There's a place for the women's role in the royal kava ceremonies, but as far as drinking, socially, which is still ceremony too, the women had their own little group, and so we don't want to make any accusations or assume anything, but this idea today that women can't have kalapu or women shouldn't have kalapu, you can argue against it because of these examples.
There is a historical
Exactly. There's a historical context. There's historical precedent. Ooh, that's my expensive word for the day.
Oh, wow.
There's historical precedent that Tongan women did engage in kava drinking and were exceptionally good at it. Not just the toa. We know from those like Siosua Laftani, who I learned from that, when there's a kava ceremony or kava drinking, it's actually more chiefly, if the toa is a woman. We learn as well from the stories that we know about Tonga that kava is a girl. Kava itself, the plant, is a woman. And so, this notion again of women and kava, they don't go together. We can see exactly what you said. There's historical evidence to show that women and kava do go together. And so now I'm not advocating for other things of, we drinking together. I think there's a difference of what that means. There's differences with when to drink kava. There's still the tapu that we need to observe. Doesn't mean that I'm saying, anyone listening, I'm not advocating, okay, yeah, brothers and sisters, go drink. Don't worry about the whakaapa-apa and the veitapui. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that, yes, from this story, we learn women drink kava too. And that's okay.
They outdrank the men.
Yeah, and they outdrank the men.
That's and so I've never drank kava with a woman, so I don't know.
Right.
But I'm sure that there are women who could drink plenty of men under the table.
I'm pretty sure.
Under the kumete. Hey,
get to the bottom. But no, it's this story, I'll be honest, to our listeners listening, I'm not sure on a lot of the deeper meanings of this story. There is, however, a paper written out there if anybody would like to look, and shout out to him, I believe it was Opeti Tariai. He has a paper on it, which he actually kind of does go a little deeper into what this story could possibly mean, and he takes each part. He actually uses another version. It's still a pretty close version, but there's a chant done by the chief Mohulamu, and it's kind of like a song, kind of like a poem, and it's the same story, a little different in some aspects, but Tariai goes through each line and talks about possibly the political significance of this story, probably having to do with the Tamaha, with the Falefisi, the Falefisi clan. I mean, they're going to Pulotu, and so he's argues as well that it might have to do with, again, relationships with the Tongans going back to Fiji. He even makes certain, not claims, but he backs up with some evidence and what things that he's learned as well, that this could involve, of course, gardening, fishing, but also even possibly things to do with sex. To those listening, kata fa more more o hufanga he whakatapu, not trying to offend anyone, or to cause any insult to anyone listening. We're just just using, there's just simple expressions. I'm not trying to offend anybody with the words I'm using, but that's the type of things that he's talking about, that it could possibly have those type of implications. I'm not sure on that last part, but it could be. There could be, some political implications, some political stuff going on in this story, because you see that difference. The Pulotu gods continue to call them the gods from Maama. So they still call them gods. But they do make sure to recognize that, yeah, you're gods, but you're from Maama.
They call them kautua.
Kautua. You are less than. You are from Maama, the world, which is, for many Tongan scholars and culture, that Maama was Tonga. Yeah, you guys are gods, but you're from Maama. Remember that. Know your place. So there definitely is some political implications in this story. But
yeah. I guess one of the things I was wondering, as we were talking about this legend, is I wonder if it's similar to the Mauis in any way. Like if this action, because all of our stories, we believe that they came from somewhere. They were inspired.
Yeah.
Sorry, inspired by some people, some action or whatever.
Yeah.
And so this one kind of reminds me of some of the more, like when Maui would push against the sun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the sky.
Sky, exactly.
And it's kind of as pushing it back against the power of the, the ruling class. So as in this one, that station is very specific. It's very similar.
Yeah.
But to whereas you have guys who are specifically known as tu'a or commoner, and they are going out and they're kind of just, what would the word be?
Tainana.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. I was like, the Tongan word for tainana. They're going out and they're kind of making fun and laughing jokes or whatever in Hikule'o's house.
Yeah,
that's a serious. No
offense,
wonder she wanted to kill them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so that's kind of cool. But I wonder if this is the instance where it's like maybe talo was exclusively a me'akai of royal people, or maybe the people who brought talo to Tonga. Maybe Tongans were in Tonga, and then someone went back to Fiji or whatever it is, the place they were, and stole some talo from there, or on their boat, or they just got talo and came back and told the story of how they stole it, because everybody's fiahia like that. But this is a cool legend. There's a lot to go into it. I haven't read that paper you mentioned yet. I'll have to go back and read it.
Yeah, and that too, to everyone listening, if you're on our YouTube, or please remember to join the YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube, to the Instagram, to the Facebook. It's all under Wakona's page. But I'll put links to that, to that paper and other papers. If you folks are interested in. I know some of you have been asking, where's the map, where's the family history for Tonga and stuff. Go to the Facebook. It'll be on there. We can share it on there, as well as the other papers from other scholars that write about this stuff. There are Tongans that write about this stuff, and they don't just write and make stuff up. A lot of these scholars, they go and they talk to people. They talk to Tongan elders. They talk to, their kupuna. They talk to their matua, and to many of the chiefs. That's one thing in Tonga. The Matapure, the Tauhifonua, the Fototehina. They're very knowledgeable, and they a lot of them keep that knowledge because it's important. It's political. It's cultural and social, so they gotta protect it. But yeah, the story is a lot into it, man. It just shows though why today. Actually, we just did it. Wakona and I, going to that program I talked about. The number one thing you could bring to to somebody, of course you bring kava first. That's the number one presentation gift. But when in regards to meakai, food, ufi, always gotta be ufi. If and then how I was taught, if you can't get ufi, talo is a close number 2.
Yeah.
Okay, then you bring talo. You just see that ufi and talo are are eiki. These are chiefly things, especially because they came from Pulotu. It makes no wonder why Lohi and Faimalie stole it and brought it to Tonga. And you're right. There's a Maui-ish thing to this, stealing and giving it back to the Tongans. But not only did they give it back to the Tongans, when they did, the Tongans treated it as something important. Because it was brought from Pulotu. And if you look at it, a lot of the things in our culture that are high ranking, come from Pulotu.
The cool thing is, food has a rank.
Yes, in Tongan, everything.
I guess in like European culture, where like lobster.
I guess, yeah.
The more whatever, but I always I really like talo. And when I was being introduced to Tongan foods, I love talo, but ufi to me, everyone is like, oh, like gola whakatonga. And I was like, this is just, to me, I didn't understand why it was so important. But then when you look at it has a genealogy. Yeah. It has a history, and that's what gives it importance. Yeah. To me, it wasn't this overly tasty thing. I was like, I think talo tonga is way better tasting than ufi, personally. But it's because of its genealogy that it has this importance, and it takes a lot of effort.
I was going to say, it goes with genealogy, and also because ufi is just hard to grow, man. Yeah. It is difficult. Those who out there, Tongans that don't know, growing ufi is an art form. Like, you gotta work to grow that. And that's why Tongans, they have a lot of the Tongans here in Hawaii, and Tongans back in Tonga, they have this kind of, I wouldn't say arrogance, but they have this thing, where other foods doesn't live up to, it's not as up to par with ufi because of how difficult it is to grow ufi. Manioke just grows. Talo, you plant it, it just grows. Ufi, you gotta, it's a process. It's a process from the seedling, to preparing it, just to prepare it. There's protocols and stuff, so it's pretty nuts. So
digging the whole filling. Yes. I was the first time we went plant ufi, I was like, we dug this big old deep hole. I was like, why you gotta put it all down? And then they put the dirt back in the hole. I was like, we just yes. But then I understood. It's like, oh, you're clearing this pathway to give it that, that long.
It's a hard process, man. It's difficult, So I love ufi personally. Same thing. I did not like ufi growing up because the ufi we used to get in Utah was like the ufi from the store, from Guatemala or whatever. It was this crumbly, nasty thing.
Yeah, and I think that was because my early connection was
exactly. But when you eat ufi, real Tongan ufi from even here in Hawaii and in Tonga, gosh, when they hakala. No wonder that's the food of the kings. So, anyways, so the story. We don't just get, the food, but there's a good introduction. This is one of the first stories I think Tongans hear. I think that we've even shared where it talks about surfing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people, yes, and, to my Kanaka Maoli side, Hawaiians have pretty much introduced the world to surfing. Was through Hawaii, through Duke Kahanamoku and all the surf boys here in Ko'olauloa, North Shore. Well, I know that. But surfing was not limited to only here in Hawaii. As you can tell by this story, yes, in Tonga too, we practice whanifo. The art of surfing, of wave riding, and so.
And nifo in that word, do you know the origins of that word?
Good question. From at least from what I understand, one story told me to whanifo, to go across the white teeth. Of the wave.
I was going to say that the nifo is referring to the break of the wave, foam, where you would ride. And I wonder if the fa is that, you reach your hand out.
Could be, Could be. Balancing,
Fa or whatever. Yeah. Anyway. Interesting. So the word for surfing in Hawaiian is he'enalu. Nalu is the same as the Tongan word ngalu, which is a rolling wave. Exactly. Right? So peao, my understanding, I might be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but a peao is like a rolling wave, right? Wave on the ocean. Yeah. A ngalu is when it comes into shore and it
breaks. That surfing wave that you always see.
So ngalu is like heke, which is to slide.
There you go.
So if you, again, Hawaiian and Tongan, it's the same language, just a few generations removed.
Yeah.
My belief, at least. But He'e Nalu is Heke Nalu, sliding down the Ngalu.
Sliding on the Ngalu waves. Exactly.
Yeah. So that's. Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, Malo Lava Mai, I think that's. You got anything to add?
No, just thank you everyone, for being so loyal to our podcast. All those who love to listen, we appreciate it, and please share. I think again, that program that Wakona and I went to the other night, just solidified for us, let us know further that what we're doing is important. There are people out there who are listening and want to learn more. If you folks have any questions, please don't be afraid to comment. Message us. We got a lot of good messages from a lot of people, and just thank you to everyone that's been supporting us, our families, and like and subscribe as always. Malo lava mai, malo opitos yo mo ofa, mo me adwa.